All right, so welcome again to Scrapbook Live. I am Megan Jax. Today is January 17th. Hopefully this video goes okay. I was having some internet issues a second ago, so we're starting over for this nice clean recording that'll end up on YouTube. And so the layout that I'm going to be sharing for you today is from the Creative Memories blog. And I did mention that make sure you check out at the bottom of the blog articles on the Creative Memories blog. You'll be able to see an option to do a print PDF or something like that. And that may be an option for you if you want to be able to download an article or a set of directions that we haven't done before. And it's a little clunky, I'm going to admit, but that's just the nature of the plugin. It's not anything Creative Memories can really adjust unless they want to manually create a handout for every single layout the way I create them to share when we do our weekly. So, but it is an option. The other option, if you are trying to do things, is just to copy and paste the directions into a Word document or some other word processing program so that you can do that. All right, so the layout we're doing today is, it was shared in December of 2023. However, the sample uses the Silver and Gold collection, which actually came out at the end of 2022. So this is a sketch or a project that they've been sitting on for a while, which is okay. I really do like the Silver and Gold collection. I'm glad it has stuck around as long as it is, because it's kind of one of those collections that when you need it, you need it. And so it's a great one to have. But I am going to be using the Seas Please collection. Today I'm working on some photos from our San Juan Island trip that we took in August, or no, it was in July. And I'm doing it as part of Winter Frolic. I've been working on these. We were there for like 4 days. And so I have a various set of photos. I'm working through those for Winter Frolic, which Winter Frolic is the 8-week kind of bash your stash scrapbooking thing that Tessa and I do. And so this layout actually worked really well for this. I'm super excited about it. So I'm going to jump over to my overhead camera and we will get going. Have to press all the right buttons. Okay, so for today, what I wanted to share is that you're going to need some background paper to work with. The directions, they have us building all of these components on top of just a base piece of paper. You could do it on top of your base album page. You could do, kind of whatever there. So what you're going to have to be able to do is pick out some base piece of cardstock, any color. I am using beige largely because if I do work in some other colors, having some beige back there is going to be fine. We really won't see any of it. The other option you could do is you could come in with whatever paper that you use would show through on the side edges where you see the polka dots here. Oh, I'm having problems. I am so sorry. Okay. I'm having problems. I don't know what my problem is, guys. My overhead camera is not working. So, all right. So after that minor technological pause, now my hands will actually move. That was before. I know exactly what I did wrong. And so yeah. So here we go. Here's the layout. You will need some background pieces of paper. They use just cardstock or a tone, whatever. You end up actually covering the whole thing. So the other option you could do is whatever color or whatever type of paper you see here on the outside edges, you could use as your base paper. But it's pretty paper, so you may not necessarily want to cover up the bulk of it with photos. So they actually give you directions in here to actually just cutting out some small rectangular pieces. So you build up everything on top of the cardstock. So what I am using, I already told you I'm using the Seas Please collection. So they use the Silver and Gold, but what you can see here is you can see they have a couple of larger 4.5 by 6.5 inch variety mats, or just 4.5 by 6.5 inch paper. You could cut those Jean's asking, yes, Jean, I am recording. I did manage to hit the unpause button to continue recording. So you would use the variety mats or cut yourself some 4.5 by 6.5 inch pieces of paper. And then they use the variety mat, the larger variety mat. And within the silver and gold collection, they had some of the mats, the journal boxes were very, just a little bit different. They kind of have, like, you can see this kind of a circle end that extends down into making the piece here. I don't know. I really liked those journal boxes. I think they were really fun with the way, like, they have almost that U-shaped on top of there. And that's just part of the journal boxes of a mat. So here's the journal box for the C's Please collection. And they're just kind of, I don't want to say they're boring, but they're not as exciting as the silver and gold collection. So anyway, all right. So what the big thing here that made this layout, to me, makes it a little bit more challenging. I do see, thanks, Janet, is telling you that I forgot to update that it says it's tropic time and it's actually silver and gold. So, right there. Anyway, so I'm sorry about that. The one thing that made this layout a little bit challenging is these 3x3 photos across the middle, and only because sometimes I'm able to crop my photos down and sometimes not. So I thought maybe I was gonna have to reprint some photos where I had that smaller square option. But actually, when I started pulling out my photos from the photos I wanted to use, I found I actually had a lot of smaller areas I was able to crop down to. I was able to go ahead and do that. So you're kind of, that's an option for you, is to be able to just crop down your photos. It depends on how you print your photos and what the photos are of. We were at the beach, and so I had a lot of things where the kids were a little further away, or there was a little bit of wildlife that was further away. So definitely lots of ability to just cut down my photos. One thing I do want to talk about before we get going too much further is how do you decide how to cut a 4x6 down to a 3x3? That is actually a pretty substantial amount of photo that you're cropping out. So I have some of the photo trimming templates from Creative Memories. And so for me, what I did is I grabbed the 3x3 square out of here. These are just clear. We don't have these currently available. They have been available in the past. You can easily make your own if you have a piece of clear plastic. You might be surprised where you could find clear plastic like this, but you can make your own templates. But they're nice because then you can take your photo like this, and I can come in. Well, you're like, it's a rock. No, it's an eagle. There's an eagle on top of that rock. I could come in here and I can lay down my photo template on here, figure out where I want to trim, and then I grab my photo labeling pencil and I would go ahead and I just mark one corner. That's all I'm concerned about. I already know I need to cut this to 3x3. And so once I have one edge and two edge, I can trim the others. So I just went around to all my photos that I wanted to do that to, and I went ahead and trimmed out the photo there and cut out. And they use 4 per side, and I'm going to take this into a 2-page layout. So I needed 8 photos, and shockingly, I did have them. So I have already cut them all. You don't need to wait for me to cut them. The other photos, the top and the bottom here, are going to be 4x6 photos, which is great because then if you want a peekaboo pocket, which I will be doing, you can do so. Now, the other thing is I wanted to carry this over to a 2-page layout, because I had lots of photos and I was able to get 8 3x3 photos. So we are going to build this as a 2-page layout. Let me grab my trimming mats and show you guys how we're going to set this up. So I've got my base pieces of paper here. And my 2 trimming mats. Now, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do, because I love to do this, I'm going to use a little bit of repo adhesive, and I am going to go ahead and just stick these papers down. We don't need to use the outside rulers too much, but we will use them a little bit. And it's just going to be easier if I'm not fighting with these papers for them to move. So I just use a little bit of repo on the back side, adhere them down to my mats. Definitely take a little bit of time. Make sure they're lined up. If you're going to go ahead and adhere them to the mat, you want to make sure they're lined up. And we're going to start just kind of spacing some things out. So the photos, I should go through, I have mats picked out. So the mats I picked out, I wanted to find pairs. So I wanted to use, I had, in most of our mat packs, you will find you'll have one design, will have a journal box onto it, then there'll be another mat that has that same pattern as just a blank bit. All right. It is not always true. You don't always have that configuration. But what I did is I did try to find mats that had that. So here again, we see where we have a journaling mat and then we have a solid mat. So I have two pairs of mats. These are going to become my top and bottom mats. I'll do one of each on the page. Now we had these half mats. These are also still the 4.5 by 6.5 inch mats. Again, you can cut down designer paper to that 4.5 by 6.5 if you don't have mats. But I wanted to use, I chose two different colors, largely because I wanted to bring in this really fun kind of limeish green color. And then I decided it would be fun to accent it with a little bit of this more, it's not quite navy, it's between blue and navy stripe. So I will actually be cutting these two mats in half to get the different pieces. So let me go ahead. I'm actually going to do that. Grab my trimmer. And I'm going to cut these mats in half. And I'll be cutting them at 3 and 3.25 inches, should be half. I get a little nervous. Yeah, 3.25 because they're 6.5 inch wide. So I'm going to cut them at 3.25. And I'm going to cut the second one at 3.25. And the way my photos were set up, I've already kind of played around with this a little bit. The way my photos were set up is I needed to have, I needed to use some vertical photos. I had vertical photos for this layout, and so I needed them to be, I needed some of my vertical photos to be over here on the left side because they show my kids throwing rocks. And I wanted to throwing rocks and such into the water, and it was going to be better if they were throwing that towards the layout rather than being over here on the right page and throwing them off the page. So I see a question from Vicky asking where those mats are from. All of these mats are from the C's Please collection. So I have some, there's pictures of a child. And I have multiple pictures here because I will be using Peekaboo Pockets. So I am just kind of, I think I had that one first, but when you flip it open, you'll see some pictures of Cody throwing rocks. But then I did have some horizontal photos that I wanted to play with. So the horizontal photos will go on this other page. I had to keep my photos all separated out. I have some lovely photos of the beach itself, just playing on the beach. And then I have the photos that are the 3x3 photos. And what's great about the 3x3 photos is they can go any direction, right? So here I've got, I'll be coming down the middle with the 3x3s, and I'll be going across the middle horizontally on the right page. So this sketch is one of those that's really easy to just rotate. I could have done them both horizontal. I could have done everything with the vertical photos and had just a bunch of photos going right across the middle. So if you've got both vertical and horizontal photos, it's hard to work with them in the same layout. But if you have a 2-page layout, you can keep all your the horizontal 4x6 on one page and the vertical 4x6 on the other. So here I actually have these labeled because I did have them all separated out. Oops, this is... So those are going to go on there like such. And then these photos over here, will come in here like such. So we're starting to get a lot of photos on here. Already I've got 4, 5, 6 per page, and I will be able to peekaboo pocket. Now, in the original layout, they use these sections here to the side of the larger variety mats. They use it for journaling and a little bit of a title, kind of those decorative elements. But what you can do is you can use those for actual photos. So putting in some 3x4 photos. So I did have some photos that cut down really, really well to 3x4s. So right now, I think I have, this is the setup, but I have some additional photos that I can trim down to make the 3x4. And actually within my little photo template package, there is a 3x4, the 3x4 sizes to work with. I can pull those out and I can go and see, like, this particular photo, am I able to get a 3x4 out of it? It's pretty tight. I'm going to be right at the very bottom of the shoes and right across the hat. So I'm not sure that that one's going to work well. If I wanted to use it, I might have to reprint it. But here, this one just playing in this you know, with a stick, it works. It was a little bit further away. So I have some additional photos here that I can play around with to try to get more 3x4 photos if I want. And the other thing too that I might do is I do want to reserve a spot for a title and journaling. So I may actually be good with where I am. All right, so now I do want to bring in some of the smaller mats, those mats that I cut so far. So right now, I'm going to bring this over here. Green will go at the top up here. Green will go over here to the behind this one. I'm going to have to cut down these three. They're 3x4, but I can tell I'm going to have to cut it down a little bit more. And I do have space to do that. I wasn't mathing correctly. And over here on this side, if I'm going to do journaling, I could come back and cut this box. I probably should have cut this box to begin with. It probably would have worked out fine. Or I could just use some journal paper. I want to leave this one as the one I'm going to include for my title. I've already punched some letters. This is called Eagle Cove Beach. And so I wanted to be able to, I'm going to use some letters on here to say Eagle Cove Beach. So I can tell right now I need to do some adjustments to these photos. I'm going to grab my trimmer. This is just a personal trimmer, and I'm going to cut off. I need to cut off about 1/4 inch from the top and the bottom, and need to make it just a little narrower. I'll cut it mostly off the top, I think. Yeah, that works a little bit better there. And then so the same for this one, I need to trim it down to be, instead of 3x4, it needs to be 2 3/4 by 4 because of the way the mat is set up. There we go. So yes, we're definitely getting a lot of photos on here. And I do have a top loading page I'm going to slide it into, and I'll show you how I put down those peekaboo pockets. That I have had some questions about peekaboo pockets in the past, that I want to be able to show you guys how those work. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use some adhesive and put down my designer piece, or my photos on my mats, the photos that go on the mats, at least these small mats. The larger with the 4x6, I need to think about a little bit more what order my photos go in. I might just tack them down with some repo adhesive, because then I can pull them off. Like this is not the one that's going to stay on my Peekaboo Pocket or on my designer or my mat. But I'm just using that repo adhesive just to put it down to get the basic layout. Then I'll be able to create my Peekaboo Pockets. This one I know is going to stay on this mat. It's not going to move. And I have lots of places to be able to include photos. Just putting these all on those 4.5 by 6.5 inch mats. We'll leave this one. And I'm just pulling away my extra photos for now that'll go ultimately in the Peekaboo Pocket. And so now it's time to start thinking about how this is all going to go on there. And so there, figure out where, you know, all these photos are going to go on here. But the other detail on the directions that are on here is these blank space. Right now you can see my cardstock showing through, my beige cardstock. In the handout, this is where you would cut some strips of paper. You would cut some to a 1 1/8 by 4.5 inch pieces of designer paper. So you could come in here, and I think I did pull these, this beige tonal paper from the Totally Tonal beige collection. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and cut some strips that are 1.5 or 1 1/8. They could be a little bit bigger. You could do 1.5 if you wanted them, or 1 1/4 if you wanted them to tuck under a little bit. Our spacing right here is going to be 1 inch, but the 1 1/8 is, you definitely need to go to 1 1/8. You don't want to go with 1 inch. No, it is 1 1/8 for sure. I'm going to cut mine to 1 1/4 inch wide. I'm going to have a little bit of an overlap, or not. It'll actually be under. So I'm going to come here to 1 1/4. And I'm probably going to have to cut 4 of them because I think I can only get 2. So guys, I am so sorry on the technical issues with this one. I am not sure. I'm gonna have to play around a little bit more with why I'm having so many issues up in this location. So I think I'll have my husband troubleshoot it for me, because I should not be having this much difficulty upstairs. The setup is almost exact same. So here we go, some 1 1/4 by 4.5. And what I will do here, it wants to do 4.5, but I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because I can only get 2 per slice anyway. So I'm going to go at 4 3/4. I'll put these pieces down first, and that way my mats and my photos will overlap them for sure. I am using a non-directional paper. This doesn't add a whole lot. Like, you guys may not even be able to tell that there's a pattern to this paper. It's just going to look more beige because it's such a subtle pattern to this. I'm not even sure if it'll focus in. There you can see very, very slight pattern. So I need to use 2 strips. So I cut 2 1 1/4 inch strips, and then I cut those strips at 4 3/4, a little more generous than what was in the handout, only because I wanted to have plenty of space to overlap. I want to make sure that I don't have any open seams or anything like that. So we will see. So I see, yeah, Kathy talking about the Wi-Fi extender. It's really funny. I am actually, guys, within I'm probably 15 feet from my main Wi-Fi. everything up here. And what was really hard for me, for any of you guys that are technical and know some of this stuff, is I was actually network cabled in when we first got started. And I think my network cable is not good. I did a speed test, but I think, and it was fine. I think the challenge is there's something else going on. And so I'm going to have my husband go after it. But I should not be having the signal issues I am. So I need to figure out where all my problems are. Okay, so here we go. There's those pieces. So now it's time to start adhering. And I am going to adhere these 4 pieces that I just cut. I'm going to adhere them first because there will be, the photos and the mats will overlap on top. So I'm going to go ahead and put these down. They are going to go in their respective corners flush with the edge. Want to make sure that get some adhesive on those outside edges so that they will not lift when I'm sliding them into my Peekaboo or my top loading page. All right, so then now I'm going to go ahead and get all my photos put on this left page. These photos are going to start about 1 1/8. These mats, excuse me, are going to be about 1 1/8 inch from the outside edge. So I'm going to use regular adhesive here. And they'll be 1 1/8 inch from the outside edge, but from the top and the bottom, but they will be flush without outside edge. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my photos down the middle, and I'm just building this from right to left, or excuse me, left to right. Photos will be at the top, flush with that top edge. What's nice about this is because everything goes in here and everything just kind of butts up against each other, it works out really easy to just put things together. It's not hard to do the assembly at all. There we go. My photos are all lined up. And then I'll come up here and I'll put in this is my title, where my title is going to go. Once again, it comes at 1 1/8 from the top. Everything is butting up this direction. So if my paper was a little bit wider, I can see ever so slightly, I have probably like a 32nd of an inch over on this side, but I can always just trim that off if I need to. So I am making sure everything is nice and tight against towards the left, and I'll trim off any extra on that edge if I need to. Oops. So there we go. We have the photos on here. So now we'll go ahead and get the left side or the right side put together quickly. And this one, the strips of paper go vertical. Now, I do not have a lot of embellishments to use on this page, which is okay because there's a lot of things going on here. I got a lot of stuff going on with my photos. So I'm okay with that. The C's Please collection, the colors work really, really well for my photos. However, some of the embellishments don't work so well because we were, it was not a cruise that we were on. And so, and some of the animals and things that are in the stickers and so forth didn't really apply to our trip. So I am going to be relying on mostly photos to kind of carry through all of the different components of this rather than pulling in stickers and additional embellishments. But I've got a lot going on with the photos. There's lots of putting on the photo, starting at 1 1/8 from that outside edge or the inside seam here. Everything's going to go flush this direction, once again towards the left, probably because I'm right-handed and it's just easier to kind of use my hand to put everything flush there. So there was a question Jenny's asking about what size of the picture and the mat is below the vertical mat. So over on this side here, this mat is it is 3 1/4 inch tall by 4 1/2 inch wide. We have used the large variety mat that is 4 1/2 by 6 1/2, and we cut it in half. So it was 6 1/2 inch tall. When you cut that in half, it cuts it 3 1/4. Then your photo is going to be 4 inches wide by 2 3/4 inch tall. So that is how those all lined up. I'm not sure. I should have double checked what measurements that they gave you. They just talk about cutting that large variety mat in half. And they didn't really give you the specific sizes of what they used if you don't have a variety mat that you're cutting in half. Because all of this, I mean, I've used the variety mats, but you may not have the mats for your collection that you're working with or your theme. So you may need to use something else. So I don't know if more of you are getting the mats now with the buy it all bundles that Creative Memories have, where you can save 10% if you buy all the components, including the tools of a collection. So I always know that we're always hearing, the ways to use mats. And this layout is a great idea to be able to use mats. Starting at that 1 1/8 and then coming in. Okay, so there's a lot of aspects that this is really going to be kind of what my layout looks like. Like I said, it's all about the photos. It's tons of photos. I don't have a lot of embellishments. There are a few stickers I'm going to add. This is called Eagle. I used my die cut, my little cranky machine with my letter dies. And so it's going to say Eagle. And then I think I'm going to use Creative Memories stickers to come in here and say Eagle Cove and then beach below. But I have to get that all kind of figured out on what that's going to look like. So I'll do that part off camera. But I want to talk a little bit about the Peekaboo Pockets because I'm going to stick this layout in what is ultimately the right page. I'm going to stick that in a regular pocket here, in a top loading pocket. Everything I have, so we'll focus on doing this bottom photo here because this was all about kind of approaching the beach and then just different perspectives when you're actually on the beach. So in doing the Peekaboo Pocket, I am going to use, I'm going to have it flap up and down. That's actually my preferred way of using the Peekaboo Pockets on the 4x6s. I have a lot of the Peekaboo Pockets with the short side flap that I haven't used. So the Peekaboo Pocket, the picture that you want to see, here's my Peekaboo Pocket, here's my flap. The flap will go towards the back, so here's the front. This is going to be the photo that we see on the front. And then when I flip it open, I need to figure out what photo am I going to see down here. I'm going to see this one, I think. Because what it's going to do, it's going to take you through this progression where you're a little bit further away. Now you can see all of the beach with all of that driftwood. And then down here is just a different perspective with the, you know, getting a little bit more of that driftwood right there. Lots and lots of driftwood. So what you can do here is for your Peekaboo Pocket, I'm actually going to adhere these photos together just so they can't slide around too much. Just a little bit of adhesive. And I'm going to try to line them up so that I don't see any white on either side. Now this is relying on your pieces of the photo paper being the exact size. That may or may not be true. It just kind of depends. And if it's not true, like I can see a little bit of this outside edge, that's when you can grab your personal trimmer, and I am just going to make this nice and neat all the way around, no white edges. Slide this into my Peekaboo Pocket. All right, so that's everything's in my Peekaboo Pocket and ready to go. It flips up. This is what you'll see, just more of the beach and more of the driftwood. So now if I wanted to put this on, this page is largely done. I do want to come in with a little bit of some adhesive, or excuse me, a journal box up here at the top. I don't think I'm adding any more photos to that side. This will be a journal box. Down here is going to be the Peekaboo, so it needs to go into my top loading pages. So here is a top loading page. I use a top loading page because that's my preference. I like the flexibility I have to rearrange my layouts. If you're using a traditional Jeeped page, you would go ahead and put your page, your layout on your page, put on your page protector, and you adhere the Peekaboo Pocket to the page protector, or in this case, I'm going to adhere it to the Peekaboo, or to the top loading page. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead. You can take out your this white cardstock. If you get top loading pages, this is completely usable. This is just white cardstock. I think it's not actually our white cardstock. It is the same material that is used to make our Jeeped album pages. So you will see this is actually a little more white than our white cardstock. So if you like a little bit of a brighter white cardstock and you use top loading pages, you're going to get a nice little bonus in there. You get several sheets of it. Go ahead. I need to pull this up off my mat. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to just go ahead and quickly wipe off that repo adhesive I had on here. And I'm going to tuck this in. Well, I didn't put on my photo. This is important to have on there. And then this gets tucked in. All right. So now it's all nice and tight, all set inside my top loading page. So now with the Peekaboo Pocket, the adhesive should be, if you flap the paper, the Peekaboo Pocket over, the adhesive is on that flap, the outside of the flap. It can be a little bit of a pain to find, but it's there, I promise you. I'm getting it peeled off. And then what my goal is I want the top of my Peekaboo Pocket to be the top edge of my photo, because my photo is 4x6 and my Peekaboo Pocket is 4x6. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to open it up, and I am going to, my goal here is to line up kind of like the top where this folding part is. It's going to go like kind of slightly above my photo, just ever so slightly, so that when I close it, my photos are very much on top of each other. You can also maybe try from the side. That may actually work better. And I am lining up my photos. There we go. And that just gets put on as such. Flip it up, flip it down. Now, what if you made a mistake, right? What you can do is you can peel it up. So it's on there pretty tight, but you can usually peel them up. So if you do make a mistake, you can make some adjustments with that. I do not know. I have not gone back into my older layouts that have the peekaboo pockets that have been on there for a while to see how long does it go that you can still kind of remove them, but they are pretty secure. You can go in there, you know, push it down even more and so forth. So that's how you attach peekaboo pockets. And that I show you with the top loading is very similar for the page protectors as well. So that is an option there. If I had another one, I could flap it open to the side. In the peekaboo pockets, you do get an even number up top, or the long side flap versus the short side flap, which would go the other way. So all in all, that is going to be the layout for today. I am going to finish up the title over on the other side. I see a question. Ingrid is asking about the adhesive. You can kind of see it in there a little bit. I need to go through. I mean, you can definitely see where the flap is. I need to go through and see if, like in the light, I can see a few little bubbles of where the adhesive is. I am sure it depends on the photos that they're going on top of. So I've got a little bit of a lighter photo here. The blue is not super dark. And so I think it is blending in a little bit better maybe than it might with a dark photo. But you will definitely be able to see the flap. That's just the nature of how the peekaboo pockets work. If you wanted to not see them, you would have to do some slicing of your, especially on the top loading, you'd have to like slice it and try to get it in there, which then can be an interesting prospect as well. The other thing, if you're using Jeeped album pages and you have the side openings for the page protectors, some people will always just put the peekaboo pockets, make sure they're to the very outside edge, and then they tuck those peekaboo pockets behind. There's various ways to handle that. But yes, if you are using the peekaboo pockets, you will be able to see it when you flap it up. You'll be able to see that edge. So that may be also just a quick note there. One of the things that you may note there is, depending on your photo, you may need to put the adhesive off to the side and have a flap open side to side versus top to bottom. So that's something to think about if you're feeling the adhesive is getting to be a little bit too apparent in the photo. It really depends on your photo. Okay, so I did see a question about what goes on the back side of the layout or the page. So yes, when I flip this over, I will just insert another layout here. If you want to be super conservative with your paper, as you could build your layout on the back side of here. I've done that once or twice, especially when I'm working on something like a vacation, or I have very sequenced layouts that I'm very positive are going to be next to each other in the overall album. I can work on the back side. I don't always scrapbook in order that well. So even for like this particular vacation, I've jumped around a little bit. So I am not sure what's going to be on the back side of this layout, because I'm not even sure what is on the before it in the layout, this thing either. I have to go back and look through my photos. I have everything all separated out by the date that we did things, but as I've been working on the layouts, they have gotten mixed up a little bit. So, all right. That was fun. So I obviously have some technical troubleshooting to take care of today. So we'll get that all figured out so that hopefully next week we will not have the continued problems. On the upside, I do have some other Zoom. I have a Zoom crop tomorrow, or another Facebook Live I'll be doing for Winter Frolic. So I'll get to play around and experiment. And then I have a Zoom crop with my customers on Friday. So we'll have it ironed out before next week. So we should hopefully have a smooth process. If you joined us late, you'll be able to catch the recording on YouTube. Hopefully that all goes smoothly. We'll see how kind of crazy it is. But in terms of what I've got for you guys, we will have Scrapbook Live next week. As I mentioned, there will be no Scrapbook Live on the 31st, which is 2 weeks from today. I am going to be headed to Phoenix for a little warmth and sunshine, visit my parents. And I'll get to see my brother too. Can't forget about him. But this Friday, we will hear more about the secret box #1. So there'll be more details about the color scheme, the types of products included if you want to find out that detail. And then, yeah, so that's kind of the exciting things coming up. And Vicky did point out, she just commented here that you can use the new tab punch from Creative Memories to create a folded tab that you can then put onto the Peekaboo Pocket to give you a spot to be able to lift it. The other thing I wanted to point out, and I really should have, I'm sorry, I'm looking really quick to see if I have them, is some people commented, like, what do you do if they're flapping around? Like, right when you open your page and you shut your page. Now, I do not have them, but I'm going to tell you, this is Tessa's thing. And I don't know if she came up with it, she saw it from somebody else, whatever, but she's the one who told me about it, is those clear photo corners from Creative Memories. You can get, if you have a lot of flapping issues with your Peekaboo Pockets, you can get the clear photo corners, and you just adhere it on the top, and you just tuck your corner of your Peekaboo Pockets in there. You could do with any kind of photo corner. Teresa's saying that she, I'm not sure if she's doing that for the flapping part, but there's different ways that you can try to secure the Peekaboo Pocket so they don't just flap all over the place when you're going from page to page. So that's something to keep in mind there. And if you haven't ordered those clear photo corners from Creative Memories, but you do use Peekaboo Pockets, you might want to go ahead and add those to your next order, and give those a try, because it's really nice. And you don't have to worry about whether a particular type of photo corner matches your layout or the vibe of your layout. The clear, they're pretty unobtrusive within the layout itself. All right. That's all I've got for you guys today. Enjoy the rest of your week, and hopefully you have some improving weather. It's like snowing outside, like that really wet, nasty snow. So it's not sticking. It's just going to be annoying, and it's not any lighter out either. So it's going to be one of those days. All right. I will see you guys later. We'll see you next week. For those of you that are participating in Winter Frolic, I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.